Today we're going to be chatting about growing your business with calm, consistent marketing, creating stress-free, effective marketing systems, especially for industrial companies, but really it can apply to any kind of company. The principles that we're going to be talking about is really universal. Why calm marketing? There's never going to be perfectly calm marketing, and just like anything in business, right? You have to be flexible and things come up. I don't think anyone preparing for a show the day before would characterize that as calm. But we'll talk a little bit about what we mean by that, which is many businesses can't typically achieve steady and reasonable marketing activities on a regular basis. This is something that we find very universal, right? In all the companies I've ever worked for, there's a lot of, they are doing construction on the house next to me. Yes. Hammers are being used, so I apologize if you can hear that. I was a little surprised. Many businesses just can't achieve that. And then many businesses have difficulty explaining their marketing strategy on the spot. If you say, hey, can you explain your marketing strategy in a couple sentences or just under 30 seconds in an elevator? I don't know. Well, we're doing this, and the social media team is doing some stuff, and often it's very difficult for them to actually, define their marketing strategy. Simply explain it to someone else. And then many businesses can't see past their immediate pain points. Oh, our website's broken. Okay, well, fixing that's not a marketing strategy. And that's just the reality, and that's very natural. So us kind of getting organized and countering that is what we're going to be talking about. How we have to be very intentional about it. So our goal today is kind of to understand from a big picture what goes into an effective marketing plan. What are the obstacles to that, and how to, in a general way, approach it so that you actually can create an effective, consistent marketing plan. And then we'll also look at a few key tactics you can use. And because I have a tendency to talk a bit too much, I'll rely on my team who's on the call as well to let me know if I'm running a little over time. There's a lot more to say, but we'll cover some more topics related to marketing in some upcoming events, because definitely we can't solve everybody's marketing issues in one event. And if you do have questions, put them in the Q&A and we'll discuss them in the post-webinar meeting. If anybody can hear the hammering, I would love to know if you can hear that hammering. Go ahead and put it in the chat. It's much louder than normal. All right, a little bit about Greenlight Studio. Our US entity was founded in 2019, and our Thai entity here in Thailand in 2023. We have a team of, okay, thanks, Tiffany. I'm glad it doesn't bother you. It's getting on my nerves just a little bit. It's a bit much. We have a team here in Thailand, and then we have some people kind of all over the world as well that work with us on a regular basis. We have a team of about 9 people at the moment. And some of our main services are just, general marketing support for small businesses, coming up with marketing strategies, just social media requirements, design, media, photography, videography, website design, website maintenance, all that good stuff. Some of our partners that we work with on a regular basis, we have some industrial companies, like in the wood industry, like Digital Wood Carver. They've been a client of ours for 5 years from the US. They make CNC routers for wood. Some NGOs, various people in the creator space that are YouTube creators. Some here in Thailand, and quite a few in the United States and in Europe. All right, first, what are the obstacles? Because actually to create a calm or a consistent marketing plan that someone can explain, we actually have to deal with the obstacles that industrial or regular SMEs face on a regular basis. Budget constraints, of course, is one of the first things that always that we think about when we talk about marketing constraints, right? Well, if only we had more budget, we could do more ads, or we could hire more people, we could do more videos, etc., right? So that is definitely a constraint that comes up. It is one of the first considerations is how much money can we spend on this? But then what I like to take that one step further. When we're developing marketing plans for clients, we want them not to be able to budget us in just for 3 months, because we're talking about longer term marketing strategies in this session today. We want them to be able to sustain. So what is a budget that they can sustain for 9 months? Or in our case, we actually talk about what's a budget that they feel like they could comfortably sustain for 15 months. So that's kind of changes the conversation. It's not like quick wins and how much we can afford in the next 6 weeks. It's how much can we invest over time that we feel like we can really sustain. And then we kind of create marketing plans with that in mind. Long sales cycles is another huge thing, because most marketing advice, and let's say that you find on YouTube and things like that, doesn't have like the B2B long sales cycle approach. It's a lot more mass marketing for a larger audience. And so marketing with long sales cycles can be really difficult to attribute, right? Like, where did we get that lead? Well, maybe we saw them at a show, maybe they saw a social media post, and they saw a video, and they heard a customer referral, and 18 months later they became a customer, or in some cases 18 years later, right? So that is a constraint, an obstacle that you have to take in consideration, right? Niche markets. So the fact that, especially industrial companies, but a lot of just regular SMEs as well, they have a very niche product or a service for a very niche audience, right? So that poses all kinds of issues. For example, someone on the call, Simon is on the call, he sells real estate. Now, he's niche because of his location, right? Southeast Asia, specifically mostly Chiang Mai. However, it's kind of a broader thing. You know, everyone needs a house, everyone needs to rent a house. So that's maybe not as niche as some, whereas if you're selling particular components that are for a particular industry, like I have a custom client who does very specialized pipe coatings for the oil and gas industry. Incredibly niche, right? So to find people who know about them, to find people who would actually buy them, it presents a lot of interesting challenges, right? In-house expertise is kind of tied to that. Simon might have a little easier job finding people who are familiar with real estate or have sold real estate before, but this pipe coating company is going to have difficulty finding employees, people who are experts about this right away, because not very many people like that exist, right? Simon, don't mind. I hope you don't mind me picking on you. Two last obstacles, and I'm sure we could add some more to this list, is marketing agencies. So an industrial company trying to work with a marketing agency can be an interesting experience because of partially marketing agencies usually are packaging up their services in ways that can be duplicated across clients. When you have a very niche audience, a niche product, when you don't have a lot of, let's say, in-house expertise that you can that can be available to the marketing agency, that can be a very difficult thing to do, because the marketing agency is not an expert in your niche, and suddenly they're trying to figure out marketing for you, come up with strategies. So that can be problematic, right? And then maybe this should have been the very first thing on the list, but reactive versus proactive. So I've been in marketing teams and worked with clients for many years. And typically, most people with marketing departments or without, a lot of their marketing is more reactive. They see a competitors do something, we need to do something. The sales are down. We need to do something. It's not calm. It's not consistent. It's not steady. It's reactive, knee-jerk reactions, which is very much understandable because of just the nature of the fact that they're not in it every day, thinking about it every day. So once something comes to their attention, then they react to it. So those are the 6 main areas of challenges that SMEs in industrial sectors typically have, right? Feel free to pop anything in the comments that you would like if I missed something. So what we're going to be talking about briefly today is kind of 2 aspects of how to overcome those obstacles, which is we're using a marketing strategy is the big picture that then informs our tools and tactics. Marketing can be very overwhelming. We're trying to de-overwhelm it, right, with kind of this approach. We build a strategy, which then informs which tools and tactics that we're selecting and how we're going to mix and match those, right? So without getting into these phases, the phases that we'll talk about in the next slide, that's kind of the 2 parts that we'll talk about briefly today, and the 2 things that we use to help us put these things in our head. Because you take any of those tools and tactics, we can talk for an hour about AI tools. We could talk for an hour about videos and podcasts. Any of those could be a whole series, and many channels exist on YouTube with just one of those being, 100 videos of content, right? But without keeping the marketing strategy and having a really, really robust and well thought out marketing strategy in place, all the tools and selecting different kinds of tools is going to get really messy, unorganized, reactive. So this is kind of what we advocate is called, and it's somewhat arbitrary, but we feel like it starts to help business owners think with the right mindset. The 15-month call marketing plan solution, helping you grow with a clear, tailored, step-by-step strategy. This isn't necessarily rocket science, but the way that we apply it, I think, is really, really important. First, we need to know where your business is at. You need to know where your business is at. Typically, when you're in a business every day, working in it every day, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? And so you really need to go back to, who is our customer? Who's our ideal customer? What are their goals? What are their pain points? All these things. What are our competitors doing? What are they doing well? What's the market doing? What are the market conditions right now? Is the market up? Is the market down? Or is there new technology coming into the market? What events are available? What different channels are best to be used to speak to our target audience? Doing a full research and audit yourself, which can be done yourself, is really, really important part of phase 1. Typically, I sit in an initial meeting with someone, and this is not how a marketing, most inquiries start with us. Most inquiries start with a specific pain point. Maybe they're having issues with their social media, right? Or they have a show coming up, or their website's broken. So they come to us and they say, hey, our website's broken, can you help us? And then as we're going through the website, we are trying to rewrite pages. We're trying to add product page information. We're trying to do this and that. And suddenly we realize there's actually a foundational step that needs to happen first, right? We can just fix a website, but if we're going to fill it with content that is helpful, we really need to know who we're talking to. We need to know how we differentiate ourselves from the competition, etc. So a research and audit typically then produces a marketing strategy, right? A general marketing strategy of taking all our constraints into account and then going, hey, this is how, compared to the competitors and seeing what customers like about our product, this is how we're going to move forward. That identifies phase 2, which is the essential needs, leveling up certain things that have to be put into place in order to put the marketing strategy into effect. So research and audit often takes, it could take a week or two, or it could take even a month or two, depending on how detailed you go. And then that might identify, oh, we need to set up a YouTube channel, or we need to create some market research, or we need to build a website or do a rebrand. So that's phase two, where you're kind of putting some of the missing pieces into place, right? And then that allows, once those things are put in place, that allows us to then go, okay, we actually have now kind of a monthly marketing plan. Like every month we do this, we do these things, we have this workflow, start to finish, they all interconnect in this way or that way. And that then can be put into place, right? And that's what we advocate. We map this out over 15 months because why 15 months? We find that 3-month marketing campaigns, your market does not care, right? You can send out a bunch of ads, or you can send out a bunch of newsletters in 2 or 3 months. Your market only has 1 or 2 touch points at that point. They don't care. No one cares. That should be like the motto of marketing. No one cares. What they do care about, though, is when they have a pain point and suddenly they come out of a meeting and go, okay, we do need a new supplier for that. Or they come out of a chat with their spouse and go, all right, we're moving to Thailand. We need a house now. Suddenly, the videos that you've been producing over 15 months, or the social media, or the value you've been bringing up, or the attendance at those shows that you've been doing over, suddenly then it comes into effect, right? It pays off. So that's why we try to get our clients thinking longer term, right? It gets them out of this reactive and it gets us more into a sustainable, proactive, hopefully calmish marketing strategy. And then monitoring and adjustment, of course. I'm going to go over this quickly, and we will send you the slides after the meeting, but here are some of the components of just a effective marketing plan. We're kind of skipping over that. We're staying very high level, but there are a lot of little components to a marketing strategy that need to be put in place, right? But that's kind of another topic, and we're going to try to move through quickly. So that was kind of the big picture, right? That's how we advocate, and we see a lot more success when our clients can go through that process. And they know where they're at. They have the information to make good strategic decisions on this is what we're going to do and this is why we're going to do it. They can then articulate their marketing strategy a lot better. And then they actually have a sustainable plan of putting that into place over long term, as opposed to just these short reactive humps. Now we'll talk about a few tactics. So we were big picture, and now we're going to just dive in and go just really some very small tactics that you might be able to implement even today into your marketing strategy. And we're going to give some examples of how these can be put into action. All right, we're approximately halfway through the presentation, and I think we are also doing okay on time. So guys, let me know if I get carried away or talk too much on something. One of the, especially for industrial companies, right? But we can come back to, we also have someone on the call who does premium motorcycle tours all through Southeast Asia, right? Well, expert knowledge, right? So someone coming from Europe, coming to Thailand to do a motorcycle ride for 3 weeks, they're relying on Scott here for his expert knowledge of the routes, the hotels, where to go, what to avoid, all these different things, right? Expert knowledge. Let me adjust the air conditioner. Nope. It is Thailand after all. So Scott has expert knowledge on routes and best approaches and how to get the most out of a motorcycle ride. But all that information is in Scott's head, right? Scott tries to put that into some social media posts and onto the website, right? It's still in Scott's head. There's all this information that he's learned over time. So in your companies as well, there's all this information that is running around in people's heads. A lot of times for small business, we work for some clients The engineer who designed the product is now running the company and has a team of 20 and is managing this and that and everything, right? Well, a marketing team comes through, or you hire, a social media intern for the summer, and they're like, I can't wait to get started. I knew nothing about all this. And I mean, to be able to download all that information into their head takes years. So but that's where we can get the most valuable information, right? The one little information about this one little side road that goes off to this like historical location that, not many people know about. Those little bits are what people want when they're going on a motorcycle ride. Or Simon, for example, can give them tidbits of information about this one little subdivision that's right around the corner from a international school where they can take their kids. That kind of information is what they're looking for, is valuable to them. That's why they're coming to you. So how to convert that expert knowledge into compelling content? That's always a challenge for companies, and especially industrial companies where this expert knowledge is really locked up with maybe 2 or 3 individuals. So we have some approaches in general for that. I'll go back to this before we jump to that. We have some approaches to that where we mine, M-I-N-E, we excavate in certain ways this expert knowledge in ways that don't take too much of maybe a business owner's time, but is very intentional to start extracting and building up kind of a database of this expert knowledge over time that we can then turn into valuable content as marketers. We can start to work with it in different ways. Here's just a good example, and this isn't that revolutionary per se, but it's a really good example of doing just that. This customer of ours, Digital Woodcarver, they have all these customers who have bought a CNC router in the United States, and they have turned it into either a full-time business or a side hustle. Especially during COVID, this was super, super popular. And we saw this huge interest in doing that over the pandemic. And we're like, well, we should create an ebook about how to actually do this, the approach and all these different things. Well, the people who have the best knowledge about how to do that are actually the customers. So we need to get that expert knowledge out of their heads so that we can turn it into something valuable for our prospective customers. So long story short, we did a very, very thought through survey and incentivized the customers to give us very detailed answers about how they found market opportunities with their CNC, how long it took, how long was the ROI from buying an expensive several $1,000 machine to making it up in things that they had sold in projects, where they found the best marketing and sales opportunities locally, all these different things, right? How they learned how to produce different kinds of things that they could sell. And then what we did is we literally turned all that information into an ebook. And this is pre-AI, by the way. So it's even faster now. We're making some additional ebooks on different topics for them and several clients right now, where we do very, very much just that. We incentivize a customer survey, we get all this really good data, and then we turn that into an ebook. And then we have the added benefit that it's not coming from the company, this is coming from our customers, right? So there's this aspect of trust that kind of comes along with that. So what were the results of that, right? Well, their company is a fairly small company, but they were very pleased with their results. So this is the actual graph of their signups, downloads of this ebook over a 6-8 month period. There's some of the projects that they make with their CNC routers. Very, very cool. We did some photography for them and some videos a couple years back. About 800 downloads in 6 months. And when we checked, the overlap between people who eventually became customers was actually quite high. Another tactic that a lot of people aren't going to like, especially business managers and things like that, because of what what it seems like they'll have to do. Decorporatizing your online presence. I'm not sure if we spelled that right, but I think it looks okay. It does have the American Z instead of the international S. But, 65% of consumers said they're more likely to purchase from a small business if they know the personal story, if there's something personal to connect with that business. We've all been to a website, right, where it's just stock images and almost stock text and no information about who's running the company, right? No story, no pictures of the individuals, etc. And we don't really want to buy from that kind of company. Most companies aren't that extreme. They'll have a team page and things like that, but that will be the extent of it, right? Especially nowadays because of the amount of social media and advertising that we're exposed to all the time. People have an increasing, they want to connect with other people. They want to see, they want to have this personal connection with others, right? So here's an example of doing just that with someone who was kicking and screaming all the way. So this guy, Brian Alver, in October of 2022, he came to us. He was the manager of a pest control company in California, right? He doesn't like public speaking. He doesn't like the camera, and he still hates social media. But over the last 10, 15 years, he was finding that he loved mentoring people on business succession and management skills. He loved it. One-on-one, mentoring them through management issues and things like that, helping teams work better together. So his dream actually was to get out of the pest control management business and become a full-time business coach. And in his mind, that meant just throw up a website and have some business cards. And then somehow through the power of marketing, he would get clients and he could focus with them on one-on-one, which is what he was comfortable with. But we were like, no, that's not going to work. No one knows you as a coach, a leadership coach. And for this type of business to work, people need to connect with you. People need to trust you. So you ready to get out of your comfort zone? You're going to have to you can't hide behind your brand. You can't hide behind your website. We're going to have to make the brand you. We're going to have to make you a very personal part of this brand presence for this to work. And so kicking and screaming, he agreed. We convinced him. So we put together a website. We started a podcast because we said, look, we're going to need credibility. You don't have a lot of clients yet and stuff like that. So starting a podcast can be a great way to just show credibility when people check out your website after getting your referral. And, oh, wow, this guy's been podcasting for 9 months and talking about this, this, and this. They'll not listen to it, but they'll see that and it'll lend credibility to who you are. Started a YouTube channel for him. And then also he had to do a personal branding photo shoot. And you're seeing one of the pictures that we forced him to do as well. 6 months in, he wanted to quit. Not seeing a whole lot of response. And again, the longevity factor, right? 1 year in, he's trying different things. We're encouraging him to do guest podcasts and do more public speaking. July 2024, he's now full-time. He quit his job in July or June. He's full-time mentoring business leaders, which was what his goal was. So in basically, under 2 years, from zero to hero. But if he had hidden behind a brand and not put himself out there, I don't think he would be successful, or maybe half as successful as he is today. But he made the brand about himself. Basically, putting yourself or key people in your team online and being maybe getting out of your comfort zone. A lot of people are scared of this because they don't know exactly how best to go about it. And that's where our team or others can help you identify how to do that in the right way, how to do that in a way that makes sense for what we're trying to do, right? Another key tactic that especially for industrial SMEs, where that's the application we're going to talk about, but any company really, is media, high quality media, photos, videos, etc. So, especially with industrial companies, I often see there's a subset of companies that have really, really well done media, and then a lot of them, they'll have a $200,000 machine that they literally have one cell phone picture of in a dark factory, and that is what's been on their website for 7 years, and that's it. I want to talk about the importance of a cell phone video and picture can work really, really effectively, and sometimes more effectively than a super polished image, right? So I just wanted to talk about how that breaks down a little bit with one particular example. So I used to work for a sawmill manufacturer, not the one pictured here, but similar. And they were using for close to 20 years pictures of European males in safety gear sawing pine. And as they're trying to grow in Africa, as they're trying to grow throughout Asia, where pine is not the species that they're really worried about. Rosewood, teak are a little bit different to process than pine. They're trying to use these images to sell product throughout there. It wasn't very effective because an African sawmiller is looking at that and going, that's a pine log, that's a softwood, that's a very nice clean image that you got there, but I have no confidence that is going to cut this monster of a teak log, right? Or a rosewood log or something like that, right? Another issue that was a big problem was they would take pictures similar to this picture here, fairly poor quality. We'd get up in a lift. This was pre-drone days. We'd get up in a man lift and take a picture of these massive sawmill lines, right? You know, $300,000-$400,000 sawmill line. We take one picture out in a couple different places. These sawmill lines are only built every 9 months, and they are often customized to different customer needs. And if a customer wanted to see one in a different orientation, no, we have this picture and we have a drawing, but that's it, right? We can't actually show you a nice quality image of the machine that you have in mind. And then we had, that was all okay. We for a few years, we limped along with that. When modifications of the machines were made, we'd have to Photoshop something. But then one day we needed to there was a rebranding of the company, some machinery lines, and all the colors had to change. And if you're already dealing with an image that might have been 5 years old, blurry in the background, and now you're trying to change the colors, it was a bit of a disaster. What do we do? So this is where thinking about high quality media isn't just, I don't mean just a promotional video. I don't just mean like a woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, how are we representing our product? Are we showcasing our product in the right way to the right audience, right? So for example, localized media was one solution that we came up with over a long time. Me and another guy visited 30 plus countries over 6 years throughout Europe, Africa, and Asia, to the top of the Himalayas, to the top of the Alps, right? To show that, yes, we have installations of these machines in these markets, and they're cutting this wood, right? And we have happy customers, and here's the quality of the cuts, etc., right? That really helped with catalogs and all these different things to really promote this machinery as capable of doing what the target markets needed. This obviously took investment, right? But it more than paid for itself. Sending a couple guys to a country to get a few pictures and some nice videos and case studies. Those case studies, I did a trip to India that I did, is still being used like on the front of calendars and catalogs that they're doing 10 years later, right? They're getting a lot of effective use out of that investment. It was a bit of a hard sell at first though, believe it or not. And then the other solution was, okay, we have these massive lines that the engineers are mapping out, planning out in their CAD programs. There exist solutions to take CAD models and pop them over into a 3D rendering environment and create lifelike, beautiful renders, whether you can zoom in on them and do a particular machine or another side or do a whole line. We could spin up these renders in under 24 hours. We could change the color of anything we needed to. If an orientation needed to be changed, oh, the log's going to come in on the left side instead of the right side. That could be done. Engineering working with the marketing department there. So there's definitely a case to be made, especially nowadays with cell phone footage, unedited, raw, all these different things. But I think it has to be, think about how you balance the two, right? I often tell clients, if you only have budget for one video, do a raw video, a raw walkthrough video of your product, as opposed to a really high polished, nice music, promotional video. Because everyone's seen the promotional video nowadays. They all expect it. It's nothing new. They're all the same. Case study videos, things like that. So do something new, do something different, mix the two together in interesting ways, right? All right, we're coming towards the end of this presentation specifically. Again, I would just kind of want to remind us what we started with at the beginning. To come up with a consistent, sustainable, doable, effective, calm marketing approach, we have to get organized, right? I can't see how that's possible in my, 15 years of marketing and media without this approach. And this is very commonplace, but for some reason, businesses usually don't put it into place. Knowing where you're at, phase one, right? Really knowing where you're at in the market, pricing, product, competitors, all these different things, your persona, your customer, understanding what they really want, and how it's best to build that credibility and that trust with them over time. And then phase two, most people kind of skip phase one, go straight to phase two. Hey, I want a website, I want a video, I want this. We can do to-do lists. And I often, inquiries usually come to us as a to-do list, right? As, hey, can you do this for us? Yeah, we can, right? And there's definitely a place for that. But if it's just a to-do list that's arbitrary, that's reactive, we don't have as much faith in it, honestly, long term. So phase two should be based on phase one, knowing where you're at, making a plan, coming up with a marketing strategy. Phase two, putting those things in place where the holes do exist. And then that allows you to move into a longer term sustainable, let's say 15-month call marketing plan, where you have it mapped out. You know what you need to do. You know what assets you need or what help you need from outside, and you can put that in place. And then, of course, adjusting over time as different metrics and KPIs are coming in, and you're analyzing the effectiveness of different things, you're testing out different things, and continuously refining. That then informs, of course, tools and tactics. How are we then mixing the plethora of tools and tactics that can be put to our advantage? How do we decide which ones to grab and which ones not? Well, then it all comes back to the marketing strategy, what we've learned in this 4-step process. That allows us to select and focus and really do well the tools and tactics, right? Because it's all comprehensive, it should be cohesive. All right, we are coming up on the end. I cannot believe that I actually did that in under 45 minutes. I really thank you for joining us today. And what we'd like to do is feel free to put through a couple questions. And in about a minute, we'll end this presentation and we'll pop over to the Google Meet link that we put in the chat here. Miriam, do you mind sharing that one more time? So it's at the very bottom of the chat window. Thank you very much. if you'd like to, feel free to pop over to there, and we will. Oh, there it is. We will. We can actually discuss some of this stuff. If you have any questions or ideas to float past us, you can. So I'm going to thank you very much for joining. I'm going to end the call now, and then I will see you there. If not, see you around. Thank you very much.